Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brock Blake. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lendio. We are coming to you live from our headquarters at Lendio's office in Lehi, Utah. And we hope everyone's having a great afternoon. We had a great webinar last week, and we covered a lot of things around the Paycheck Protection Program, but we didn't get to all your questions, and we knew that there were a lot more that we needed to cover. So we decided to come up with the second webinar. If you haven't had a chance to review the first one, we'd encourage you to do so. You can go to Lendio's YouTube channel, and you should be able to find all the details on that first webinar there on that channel. Before I get too far into our Q&A today and some of the questions that we look to cover, I want to give you a little bit of a background on who we are at Lendio and why we're here. The first thing I'd just say is that we are so passionate about small business owners and your needs. And as I mentioned last time, thinking about this difficult year, which has been 2020, and the impact that this pandemic has had on the lives of so many business owners, and having your business shut down and in some cases, or having significant negative impact and not being able to make payroll or keep doors open, that just breaks our heart. And we're so thrilled that Congress finally came together and passed this bill and is allowing business owners to be able to get a first draw on the PPP loan if needed, and or a second draw. Lendio is the largest marketplace in the United States for business loans, and we not only do PPP loans or the Paycheck Protection Program, we connect business owners to many different lenders across many different loan products, whether that's lines of credit, term loans, working capital loans, SBA loans, equipment loans, or any other type of capital that you need. We talk about our mission of fueling the American dream, or getting you the capital you need. Right now, we've tweaked that to saving the American dream, meaning helping you to save your business. Our goal as a marketplace, we're not a lender, and as a result of that, we work with many lenders across the nation and connect the entrepreneur, or to you small business owners, to the lender that best fits the criteria that you're looking for, and give you an opportunity to comparison shop. With the Paycheck Protection Program, having many lenders in our network benefits you in a couple different ways. Number one, it allows you to fill out your application, and then what we do is monitor the lenders on the backside to see which lenders are moving the most efficiently, are processing loans, getting loans approved, and then we can route more customers to those lenders that are the fastest and are providing the best customer experience. And so that's what our goal is here at Lendio. Our last time with the first round of PPP, we helped over 115,000 businesses secure nearly $8 billion of capital. And we realized that many of those 115,000 are in need for a second draw, and our goal is to help you through that process. And we have many other business owners that are coming to us as well. Today is the day. They announced on Friday that they would open the application today, and they answered a lot of questions that we had on last week that we couldn't answer. So what we did for today's webinar is go through all of the questions that were posted on the right side or on the comments section of last week's video, and we sorted them and found which ones were the ones that were the most frequently asked. And then we prioritize those questions, and we're going to start out this webinar answering those questions first. Then we'll go through and try to answer as many other questions that come in at the same time during this webinar. So without any delay, let's get into it. The first question that was the most asked last week was about the application, meaning when would the application be available and when can I apply? We were asking the same question. Fortunately, the SBA released the app on Friday, and our team is worked through the weekend, and our application is now live today. If you go to lendio.com, whether it's a first draw application or a second draw application, both of those applications are live. You can upload your documentation, your payroll, any of your financial statements and your IDs and other information that you need. Now, reminder, for the first draw application, you will need to be able to show, for both of them, you need to be able to show your payroll documentation. But the first draw application is basically the same rules that applied last April, meaning it's 2.5 times your payroll, your average monthly payroll, and you can use that for payroll, for rent, for utilities, and any other expenses to keep your lights on. For the second draw, the criteria changed a little bit in that you must show a 25% reduction in revenue in any quarter from 2019 to 2020. And so comparing like Q1 2019 to Q1 2020, Q3 2019 to Q3 2020, showing a 25% reduction. And so both of those applications are live today. Part of the application process, though, the SBA guide, so you can go online and start filling that out. The only lenders that are actually able to process loans today are the community development financial institutions and minority deposit institutions. There's about 400 of them across the country. We are happy to announce we have about 10 of those lenders in our network that we are working with. And so for the smallest businesses, the minority-owned businesses, the underserved businesses, you can fill out your application, and we will go through and validate your information and then submit you to one of those lenders as quickly as possible. We're excited about that, that they've made that available today. Today and tomorrow, it's only for first draw applications. Starting Wednesday, the SBA will be able to accept second draw applications at that point. We anticipate that every lending institution will have access to the SBA portal by Friday, meaning even if we don't get you submitted, or a lender is not able to submit you to the SBA between now and Wednesday in this kind of early period, we do anticipate that every lending institution in the country will have access to the SBA on Friday, and that will speed up the process. Some of those lenders, Opportunity Fund, Dream Spring, Lendistry, and a few other CDFIs that we're working with during these first few days. So come fill out your application, and then we'll work to validate all the information, answer the questions that you have, and then try and get it submitted to our lenders. Number 2, what will be the time period for PPP2? I know why this question was asked. Last round, the money went in like 10 days. And all of us were watching the SBA portal, seeing that the money was running out. And there was a crazy amount of urgency and stress and worry that the money would run out before you actually got access to your funds. I've literally been on the call with the SBA over the last week, and one of the most important messages they wanted me to communicate was that they anticipate the funds to last at least a month, if not two to three. And here's why. They've lowered the maximum loan size from $10 million down to $2 million. And so the average loan size is going to decrease. And some of the largest businesses will actually not be approved. In addition to the criteria that you have to have 25% reduction in revenue, that's limited the number of businesses that can actually qualify for this loan. So while I wouldn't delay in necessarily applying, I do want to communicate that I don't believe that it's going to be the same urgency as it was last round, where it's a mad scramble for everyone to get the money before it runs out. And that, hopefully that reduces some anxiety for you and for us as we go through this process. That being said, at Lendio, we've already hired over 600 new team members to be able to help process as many loans as we can and do it as fast as we can. And we actually have about 400 new team members that will be joining over the next week or 2 weeks. With the entire goal is to provide the best customer experience and process as many loan applications as we possibly can. So that's the expectation of timing. Number 3, is there any disadvantage to changing lenders from PPP round 2 versus the lender that funded our PPP round 1 loan? There really is no disadvantage. You can work directly with the lender that you had, and go through the application directly with them, or you can switch to a new lender, and all the same criteria will apply no matter which lender you go to. And so our hope is that we can, with the lender partners we have, again, if you prefer to go back to that lender, we'll try and facilitate that. But for the most part, what we're going to try and do is send you to the lender that is providing the fastest approvals, has the best system, the best customer experience, so that we can get as many of you funded as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And we anticipate doing that. So there is no difference if you what lender you go to in round 2 versus round 1. Number 4, what will the forgiveness policy and procedure for the new loans be? The forgiveness policy is basically the same. The only difference, they have simplified the forgiveness process to a 1-page application for small businesses that have a loan size less than $150,000. The other thing that they have done, though, is with a second draw application, the SBA has said that you don't need to provide any financial statements or documentation for a loan less than $150,000. You don't have to provide that up front. However, they have said that you will need to provide it as part of the forgiveness process. So if I were you, and part of our application at Lendio is gathering the financial data regardless, because our hope is make it easy now, and so when forgiveness comes, you don't have to go and try and reproduce documents or other things like that. But the forgiveness process should be relatively similar. Again, the loan will be forgiven if you meet the criteria of 60% of the loan amount paid towards payroll, and then the rest towards expenses that help keep your lights on, basically. That include rent, utilities, any software, technology, or tools that are required for you to keep your doors open, any equipment that is going to help you meet health and safety guidelines around the COVID restrictions, so any plexiglass or drive-through materials, any PPE equipment, other things like that, all of those expenses will be forgiven as part of the new rules, which I'm so thrilled that they expanded the expenses that can be forgiven in as part of this loan program. So the forgiveness policy will be pretty much the same. Number 5, what does Lendio charge and why use them instead of going directly to the SBA.gov? First thing that you need to know is Lendio, it's free for the business owner. Everything we do is free for you. We get paid. The SBA has outlined payment to lenders and payment to agents. And so we are an agent of a lender, and the lender pays us when the loan's closed. So we're motivated to get your loan closed, but we will not charge you $1 as part of the experience, and we will do everything we can to help you answer your questions and go through that experience. Now, the SBA, you cannot go to the SBA.gov directly to apply for a PPP loan. You can go directly to the SBA.gov website to apply for an EIDL loan or an EIDL grant. And we covered in the last webinar all the details, the difference between a Paycheck Protection Program loan and the EIDL loan and the EIDL grant, but they're very different. So you are required to go to a lender no matter what for a PPP loan. We just hope to earn your trust that you'll come and experience it through Lendio, and then we'll route you to the lender that is processing the fastest versus trying to go directly to one lender and getting caught at the back of the line and not being able to get the loan that you need in the time frame that you do. So no charge for the experience for business owners. Next question is, what are the guidelines around the new hospitality group? Like this question was, as a bar or restaurant, I understand we will be able to use a multiplier of 3.5 times payroll. Will we be using 2019 numbers, or are we still waiting SBA guidance? So I love this change because bars, restaurants, theaters, hotels, any in the hospitality category have been hit the hardest by the pandemic. And per the new rules, if you fall in that category, which is technically the category is an industry code starting with 72. I know that's technical, but that's the reality. You can get 3.5 times your payroll instead of 2.5 times. And the calculation is similar to the way we would have calculated it before. Take your annual payroll, maybe take your 2019 numbers and get your tax returns, and take the annual number and divide it by 12, and then times that by 3.5 instead of 2.5. And there's some clarifications if you're a seasonal business or some other things, but the easiest way to look at that is annual numbers divided by 12 times it by 3.5. You could also, if you have a quarterly, if you were only in business for a quarter in 2019, you could take your quarterly tax return, times it by 4 to make it annualized, and then divide it by 12 and times it by 3.5. Anyways, I'm getting a little technical there. My team can help you if you have any questions and provide you any answers on that. Okay, there's a question here around seasonal business. I just mentioned that there is a criteria around seasonal business that if you are seasonal, you can take a 12-week period of your seasonal and use that as your quarterly, and then times it by 4 and use that as your payroll. It's a little bit nuanced, and I would just say be a little bit patient with this, as we've hired so many new team members, and we are trained. They are very well trained on the very core aspects of this loan. But some of the nuance, the edge cases like seasonal businesses and others, they're learning through that. And so we can put you, if you are a seasonal business, we can put you in touch with the right team members here to help make sure that we do the calculation right and that you can get the max loan amount that you're looking for. It says, this question is, the application said that I have to submit a copy of my full 2019 tax return. I do not have a full 2019 tax form, as we have not filed for 2019. What do I do now? Tax returns are the best, easiest, fastest way to document payroll. Now, there are other forms that you can use. If you have quarterly, any of this 940, 941, quarterly tax filings, we can use that. And there are other documentation that you can provide. The tax returns are just the easiest, simplest, fastest documentation to show your payroll. And so I would look at that, and then we're happy to provide other guidance around, if you don't have that, what other forms that will meet the SBA's guidelines to show your payroll amount. It says you already have my information from round 1. Do I start a new application? The answer is no. If we already have your information, that's great news. You'll just need to log in to Lendio, and there's a button. When you get to your dashboard, you'll see a button that says Edit Application. And click on that, review the information that you've already provided, make sure it's still up to date, make sure your IDs haven't expired, that the ownership information is still up to date, validate that the payroll information is accurate, and then update any of the new certifications and the revenue question, the financial statement questionnaire. And it's a pretty easy, simplified process. But all you have to do is log back into Lendio, go to your dashboard, hit Edit Application, and that should take you right through the experience to help you get into the second draw. Okay. It says your site wants January 2020 bank statement. These are not available yet. My guess is if it's asking you for January 2020 bank statement, then either one of two things happen. Either one, we have two different paths of our application open today. We have the normal, if you just need a normal working capital loan, that's one path, and if you need a Paycheck Protection Program, that's another path. You could be in the normal business loan application, and it may be asking you for bank statements, and if that's the case, then sign out, go back into the Paycheck Protection Program application, and that should be able to help you. The second reason it could be asking for that is some of the lenders are asking for a bank statement to help with their fraud checks and reviews. And if that's the case, then just provide the most recent bank statement, like a December well, it says January 2020. We're in 2021. So you can provide December 2020 bank statement, or the most recent one that you have access to, which should be December. If it says you had payroll in 2019, but I closed my bank account in 2020 because of COVID, I am out of business. If you were inexistent prior to February 15th, and you were in existence in 2020, and even though you had to close, you still will be eligible to get a loan to hopefully reopen your business. And that's a key factor, even if you did shut down before. Now, you'll have to go back and get some documentation from 2019, and there may be some other information that you need to provide. But even if you've shut down already, you can still get a Paycheck Protection loan and hopefully be able to restart your business and open back up. It says, what documents will they ask for expenses? So if my business does not have a lot of expenses, is it easier just to put zero? So for those of you that are going through our second draw application, you'll get to a section that's asking you for your quarterly financials. It'll ask you for revenue by quarter and expenses by quarter. And by inputting this information, we will create a financial statement on your behalf and attach it to your file. That will meet the SBA's criteria. It is critical that information that you input is not a guess, that it is accurate. And the reason why is because you are certifying to the SBA that the information is accurate. And if for some reason down the road they have audit rights to be able to go back and audit the application to see how accurate it is. So you're just going to want to be able to, input that information as accurate as possible, And if down the road they ask you, that you can kind of back that up either with a bank statement or some sort of tax returns or other things like that. If you have very few expenses, you can put 0 in there, or try and make it as accurate as you possibly can based on what you know about your business. And I know a lot of those questions for self-employed, it's hard to, you may not have the detailed financials, and the SBA is trying to be understanding of that, but you need to provide as much information as accurate as you possibly can. Because you could have an audit. The larger the business, obviously, you need to have more documentation to be able to support the numbers that you're inputting into the app. If I get a first and second draw and still have to close my business, will the loans be forgiven? Yep, the loans will be forgiven even if you close your business, if the loans are used appropriately. As part of the process is you'll have to document that the loans were used for payroll and for operating expenses to keep your lights on. So rent, utilities, and any other required expenses to keep your doors open. And even if you go out of business in the future, whatever, if you can prove that, your loan will be forgiven. Can I use 2020 data to apply for PPP for the first time? I started my business in December 2019. Yes, you meet the criteria that 1, you were in business prior to February 15th of 2020, and you can provide the last 12 months of payroll, and then divide that by 12. So you could use all of 2020's payroll numbers, divide that by 12, and that's your average, and then times that by 2.5. So you should be fine, yes. I have multiple businesses. Can I get loans for all of them? Yes, you are able to get loans for each individual entity that you have. And they've actually loosened the affiliate restrictions that were in place in the last round. So each individual location, like if you own a restaurant and you have multiple locations, each individual location can get its own PPP loan. And so even if it's same business on both of the different entities, the same owners, both separate entities can still get their own PPP loan. Can I apply for forgiveness through Lendio? We have a couple ways that we're helping small businesses with forgiveness process. The first is, some of you may have seen, when you sign up for Lendio, you'll see information about our accounting and cash flow management tools, our invoicing tools, our bookkeeping service. It's called Sunrise. So if you Google Sunrise by Lendio, in Sunrise, it's a free service as well. When you sign up and log in, we have a whole entire forgiveness prep section, and a team dedicated to helping small business owners figure out the forgiveness. And what that does is allows you to prepare your forgiveness package and then go directly to a lender and submit your forgiveness package to that lender. In many cases, if you got a loan through Lendio and one of our lenders, there could be a strong scenario where, or likelihood that we are processing the forgiveness applications on behalf of that lender, like Ready Capital and others. And so we could help you. But if you got a loan, PPP loan through a different lender, you can use our Sunrise tool to prepare your forgiveness applications and then submit it directly to the lender. If we started the business in April of 2020, can we qualify for PPP? You will not be eligible for a PPP loan. Your business must have been in business prior to February 15th, 2020 to be eligible for a Paycheck Protection loan. Can I apply for a PPP round 2 loan less than the max I'm allowed? In other words, can I apply for 100K even if I am eligible for 200K? Yes. You can apply for, if you are eligible for 200K, you can apply for up to 200K or anything less than that. as part of the application process. You don't have to take the full max. Do all owners over 20% have to sign the app as was required for first draw? That is a great question, and I am 90% sure that the answer to that question is yes. And I don't have my trusty legal counsel here in the room with me that can help answer that question for me, but I'm 90% sure that everyone over 20% has to sign the application. We have that information posted on our blog, so we can answer it there. I'm sorry I can't answer that for you right now. I think we've about covered the majority of the questions that have been answered or been asked. And if we have not answered your question, you can reach out to us, customerservice@lendio.com. You can go online. We have a chat box that you can submit your questions to. You can complete your application online, and we'll do our best to answer your question. And you'll be assigned what we call a funding manager who will be there to help answer your questions for you. We wish you that we know this is a stressful time. We hear the stories every day of how much anxiety you feel around trying to keep your doors open and making payroll and going through this loan process. We know that you're trying to run your business. You're juggling many balls in the air while trying to also go through this application process. Our goal is to simplify that. Let us do everything we can to make that easier and get you in touch, put you in touch with the lender that will get you the loan the quickest with the best customer experience. And along the way, we'll try and answer every question we possibly can. And we appreciate your trust in us. Thank you for joining us today. And we wish you the best of luck as we jump into full-fledged into the PPP season and help you get your first or second draw of a PPP loan. Thanks, everyone. Best of luck.